Hey there, it's Robyn with Robyn Scherer Photography, and I am here to chat with you about tips and tricks in Lightroom. So today we'll go over the linear gradient tool and the radial gradient tool, and also how to create a brush. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so here's my image. I always start with my basic preset, too bright, can see that right away. Pull down the exposure. Not warm enough, I'm going to warm it up a hair. And as usual, I will grab the eyedropper and get my white balance. So you click on something gray, something white, see how your white balance comes out. So with that, I'm going to up the exposure, up the warmth a little bit more, and then I feel like it's a little too bright again. So there you go, we'll pull it down. Pull both of those down. Now, I'm always going to check my skin tone numbers. So I'm going to pull him in, grab my dropper, grab a mid-tone area. Again, we're looking for RGB. Ooh, looks like we hit the nail on the head. 85, 78, 68 are numbers you're looking for with the RGB on the target, or 75, 65, 55 with the Caucasian. There are numbers for every ethnicity. And there are a lot of skin tone classes that can teach you all of those numbers. I'll go over the numbers for the appropriate subject I have on my screen. So for this, it would be 85, 78, 68, or 75, 65, 55. We've kind of hit the nail on the head here. If you didn't, you can adjust temperature, exposure, and down here, the color HSL slider luminance. You can bump that up or down. Again, I always tell you, go to the extremes to see how the slider works. I'm going to leave that around 6. I'm going to check the midtones again. Numbers still look amazing. So I'm going to leave that. Let's go down here. Now, on a brighter spot, if your numbers are correct, on a brighter spot, not a midtone, you'll have 90, 86, 76. So you can see the numbers are pretty spot on. So I like that. We'll leave that. Okay, let's go to the linear gradient. So you can see we have a mountain back here. Grab the masking tool, linear gradient, pull that down. You can see the mask is on. So you can see the changes as you move the sliders. So we're going to lower the exposure, see if we can get a little bit more of the clouds and sky. There wasn't a lot that day. It was pretty wiped out. So it wasn't a hot, sunny day. So that just brings the mountain a little bit more into view. Take the highlights down a hair. So I like that. If you use the backslash, before, after, before, after. So I'm liking where this is headed. So I'm going to come out of that, grab my cropping tool. Yes, I did a video on that, so you can check that out too. Grab my 8x10. Again, you can use the arrows on the side to straighten, grab a ruler, go down vertical to straighten, or you can grab the ruler and go horizontal to straighten. Let's check it out. Okay, I don't feel like that's perfectly straight, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit more because I'm looking at this parking lot back here. I'm just going to go a little bit more, and I think I'll leave it there. I like it. It's good. Okay, so that was the linear. Touched on the crop tool. Let's go in and make a brush. I'm going to zoom him to 100. Grab the masking tool here, create a new mask. Grab your brush. Now, I have all my brushes made. I have Skin 30, which is very basic. I have Skin Texture if I really need a heavy hand, but we are going to make our own. So it says reset all. We have the new brush. So I'm going to use, he has acne, so I know right away I'm going to need some smoothing. So you're going to take the texture down. Let's say we'll go, it goes to 100. So you can go, let's say I'll use my arrows and go 55. And then we'll do clarity 55. So you can use your arrows. If you click in that box, you can use your arrows. And then hit enter and it'll make it. So now you can see the brush here. So now we're going to paint this on. I'm going to click show overlay so I can see where I'm painting. Again, you don't want to do the eyebrows, the eyes, the lips, only what would normally be smooth if he did not have acne. So smooth that out a little bit. Okay, so If we come out of there, we can see what the brush did. If you want to use the backslash before, after, you can see it did a great job. If you want to go back in, go to the mask you were on, which is, it'll show you right there. And you can go a little bit more aggressive if you want. So I'll take that to 70, I'll take that to 60, and you can see that was a bit more aggressive. I'm fine with that. So what you do want to do when the subject is not close up, go ahead and put it back to regular, not zoomed in. I think that looks great. I would go in and do the healing. So let's zoom back in for now. I'm gonna bring him into 200. Now I do want to show you with the brush. So here's the brush. We created it, texture, clarity. It says custom. Let's go all the way down to the bottom, save current settings as new preset. That's what we're gonna do. I'm going to name this Skin Clarify, and I'm gonna mark it heavy so I know it's heavy-handed. I'll do Skin Clarify, let's say 70 minus 70, because that's what we did down here. That way I know it's a pretty aggressive brush. So let's say we want to use that brush again. Let's say you're doing a new subject and you say, oh, I want a new mask, brush. Go in, scroll down, Skin Clarify minus 70. That's the brush you just made. You can click it and here it is. You can put it on. I don't want to do his neck, so I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so we did linear gradient, we did creating a brush and naming it and finding it again. So we use the healing tool, and you can do the size here. And I'm just gonna go through and clean up his face a little bit. A little bit here. You wanna make sure it matches pretty well when it chooses a spot. Like it went down here, I didn't like that, so I brought it back up here. And then we'll do a little one here, here. Perfect. Okay. Now what you want to do now is zoom back out. How is it looking? Does it look good to you? Do the before after. I think it looks great. I do think there's a little bit of redness here that I'm going to take care of. I'm going to do a bigger healing area. There we go. Right there. Now let's create a brush and make his eyes pop. So create a new mask, brush. Now to make the eyes pop, you're going to bring the exposure up a hair, highlights, shadows, whites, and then once we apply it, we can adjust it. It seemed like that was a lot, but it wasn't, because it just gave it a little pop. You can do a little bit more. That's too much. You can see right away. So I think that looks good. And so you can name that brush. You can name it, go down to save current settings. You can name it eye pop and create. I'm not going to create it because I have my eye brushes, but you can. So there we go. Looks great. That's his regular freckle. So I'm going to leave that. So it's looking good. Go back to the beginning. Make sure you're not doing anything crazy. Let's do the radial gradient. So pop back in here, new mask, radial. So radial is great if you want the focus drawn into the subject, and you can use it, grab that dot, move it around. The mask is on. Using the exposure will show you exactly what's happening. So I'm just gonna pop him literally just a tiny bit. And you can name that radial. You can name it client pop or subject pop. So you go back down to the save current settings, type in your name, create. And then it will be in your list when you need it next time. So before, after. So now you can drop the exposure and he's still gonna pop a little bit. And if you wanted to make him pop more, you can see the mask here. You can click on it, bring the exposure up, bring the highlights up, and bring the blacks up if you wanted to. And before, after. Okay, I think that's looking really good. I'm happy with that. I hope you learned something. We did the lineal gradient, the radial gradient, and the eye pop. We touched on that in the skin. But really, we were creating brushes that you can keep and have in your list and always grab them once you make them. You can always tweak them too. I will touch on that really quickly. So on this mask for his face, you can go back in, and it says Skin Clarify, what we named it, and you can adjust. So let's say I adjust this. Now it says Edited. So you'll click that, and you can save it as a new set, or you can update your brush, whatever you prefer. You can save a dip for a completely different brush or just update it. So that is up to you, but that's what you can do with your brushes. So you can see I left it there. Let's grab that and let's do exposure back to normal. There you go. Great. So that's your before, that's your after. We can see a little bit of the background. I will mention I added the bush to add a layer into this image. So you had a foreground, middle, and background just to add some interest. So that's just a little side note for you. Anyways, I hope you learned something. I want to let you know I launched my senior photography course. It is on my site. I have a lot of information in the course. I have 9 editing videos in there. We also go over connecting with your senior. I think it's really important to connect with your senior and get some genuine emotions. This one, I very specifically told him to just kind of do a more sedate look off into the distance, kind of like you're spying on him. But it just gives the image more interest. But we go over that in the course, and I would love for you to grab the course, and it's self-paced. So I hope to see you in the course, and I also hope to see you on the next video. And message me if you want me to do a video on something you're wondering about. Be happy to do that. All right, thanks for being here, and have a great day.